All right, so in this video, I'm gonna give you 10 great tips to help you mentally while you're learning how to oil paint. All right, welcome to Paint Coach. My name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so that you can get better faster. So I know, just as you probably know, that oil painting can be very difficult to learn. You can get frustrated, confused, lost, but I think these tips will help navigate you through your journey of learning to paint, which of course is never ending. All right, let's start off with tip number one, which is painting is worth your time. I understand life can get busy and there's definitely things that are more important than oil painting, but I think a lot of people don't give painting the credit it deserves and the importance it can hold in your life. Even if you're not a professional and you don't sell your work, even if you're just doing it as a hobby, painting can add so much to your life. I mean, it can double as a form of meditation. I also think it's just really important to have a craft or something that you build with your hands to show the results of your effort. You know, painting's gonna teach you a lot of things that will translate into other areas of your life. It's gonna teach you how to problem solve. It's gonna teach you how you learn. You know, you never hear anybody say, oh yeah, my life was going great, but then I picked up painting and my life just went into a downward spiral. So don't put off learning to paint. Don't put off getting better at painting by saying to yourself, oh, well, this isn't that important. There's other more important things I should be doing. All right, tip number two is don't wait for inspiration. Don't feel like every single time you paint that you have to be inspired. When you wait on inspiration, you are giving up control of your progress. You're letting inspiration be in control. If I only painted when I was inspired, I would probably paint once a month. And I always hear people say like, oh, I don't know what to paint, which is funny because like I ask myself the opposite question. I say like, what don't I want to paint? Because I feel like there's so many things that I want to paint. You know, I don't just paint one thing. I'll paint landscapes, portraits, still lifes, anything. And I don't care so much about what I paint as to how I paint. And I think that's very important, especially if you're starting out and learning. You should be interested in understanding how oil paint works, how values work, how colors work, form, simplification. And you can practice that on any subject. So what I do a lot of times is I bounce around because I'll kind of get tired of one subject and I'll bounce to another and get tired of that and bounce to another. And the fact that I'm constantly rotating makes it so I can paint every day and it always feels fresh and new and I feel like I'm learning. I always say fall in love with the process, not the end product. Enjoy the act of sitting down and painting, not necessarily the end product. When you do that, it becomes a lot easier to paint more. You're not chasing after a pretty painting. You're chasing after the experience and the desire to get better. All right, tip number three is make yourself accountable. Make it so you feel obligated to paint more. You know, give yourself deadlines. Take on commissions. Use some outside factor to motivate yourself to paint more. This could even be like, I wanna grow my social media, so I'm gonna put out 3 new paintings a week. Now, if you don't have any commissions, ask your family or friends, say, hey, do you want a free painting? Give me a photo of something, I'll paint it for you. Now you have an obligation to actually sit down and paint. All right, tip number four is find one person to study under for a while. I made the mistake of not doing that early on, specifically with plein air painting. I would go online and kind of follow this person for a couple weeks and be like, oh, I like this other person's painting, I'll follow them, follow them, follow them. All great painters rely on the same set of fundamentals. Things like value, color, simplification, drawing. And it's just a matter of how they get there and how they wield those fundamentals. And everybody paints differently. Everybody has a different process. Everybody uses different materials. Everybody starts a painting a different way. People end paintings different ways. And as somebody just starting out, it's very easy to get distracted by technique. That's what happened to me. I was like, oh, well, this person starts by toning their canvas. This person starts by not toning their canvas. Oh, this person starts at the focal point. This person starts with the sky. You're like, oh, I'll try that, I'll try that, I'll try that. And since you don't have a singular process, it's hard to take steps forward. You're just taking a bunch of side steps. I strongly recommend, at least at the start, to just find one person and stick with them for a while until you get your feet under you. Then you can start exploring, other teachers and other processes. All right, now tip number five is don't compare yourself to other painters now. Compare yourself to yourself yesterday. I know you've probably heard this before, but you're on your own painting journey and it's gonna take you a specific route that is unlike anybody else. I really think that everybody's journey through painting is different. And it's not a straight line. It's deviating and going off here and exploring this, then coming back, then going up. So don't try and compare yourself to anybody. But that being said, definitely have people to aspire to. You know, have painters that you admire and are further along than you and think like, oh, like I would like to get there one day. Like this is inspiration for what I could be one day. But don't let it get you down. I know it's very easy to see painters that are just so far ahead and you're thinking like, oh, like what's the point of even trying? But what's gonna happen is if you just keep going one day at a time and just taking small steps forward, you're gonna make progress. And one day you're gonna look back at the improvement you've made in a year and go like, whoa, like I've made a big improvement. Like I'm painting in a way that I didn't even think I could be painting. And you're gonna think, wow, if I just keep doing this, imagine what I can do in 5 years. And you're gonna surprise yourself at how good you can get. And you're gonna learn that you can do things that you didn't even know you could do. All right, tip number 6 is it's never too late to start painting. I made a video once and I talked about like how I started pretty young with painting. I had someone comment, I think they were saying like, is it too late for me to start? I'm 60 or 70 years old. Answer is no. You learn better when you're older. Like I started painting with watercolors and acrylics probably when I was 8 or 9. But I was 8 or 9, like I didn't know how to learn. So my progress from 8 or 9 years old to say college, improvement in that 10 years isn't nearly as great as somebody who say practiced from 20 years old to 30 years old. And that probably wouldn't be as good as somebody who started from 30 to 40 years old. Because as you get older, you learn how to learn. All right, tip number 7. You're gonna have ups and downs. Raise your hand if at the beginning of the week you feel like you've completely mastered painting, you got it all figured out, but by the end of the week you feel like a 5-year-old's better than you. I've come to learn that the process of learning to paint is unlike a lot of other things. You know, a lot of things you put in work, and as you're putting in work, you're slowly and steadily seeing results. Like say if you want to get in better shape, you go to the gym, you eat better, and you slowly start seeing your body change and get better day by day. Painting isn't exactly like that. It can be sometimes, but a lot of times you're painting for a while and you feel like you're just not getting anywhere, you're stagnant, you're not improving, you don't know if you're doing this right or wrong. But if you just keep going, there'll come a time when you'll do a painting and something will click. And you'll go, oh, I understand this now. I understand this aspect now. And your skill set will bump up. And it's kind of like all those hours and days and weeks and months practicing show up in one painting that brings you up a level. So don't get discouraged if you haven't seen progress in a while, or you feel like, oh, I feel like I was better last month than I am this month. Like that's completely normal. I feel like that all the time. I've had students tell me they feel like that. Enjoy the process. When you're in the zone and you're on a good streak, enjoy it because it's not gonna last. Just like when you're in a bad streak, when you're in a slump, kind of enjoy it because it's not gonna last. And it's those rough times, those hard times when things aren't going well, that's when you're getting better. Because if you're having a hard time and you're struggling, that means that you're pushing yourself. And the last thing you want to do is not be pushing yourself. All right, tip number 8 is use materials that you can afford. Nothing's gonna mess you up mentally when painting the painting than thinking like, oh, I hope this goes well because I'm using such expensive materials. Not every painting you do has to be a masterpiece. You need to practice. You need to get materials that you can afford and that you can practice on and that you don't feel bad if the painting doesn't turn out that well. This is why I always suggest, using a pad of canvas paper. I have tons of paintings that were done on canvas paper. Some of them turn out to be really good paintings, but I don't regret that they're on a canvas pad. I used student grade quality paint for a long time. It worked fine for me. Yeah, the professional grade paint is better, but for a long time, I couldn't really see the difference because I didn't understand oil painting enough. I always say, don't get materials that you don't understand why you need them, or you don't understand what the difference between the better quality and the lesser quality is. It's always good to try different things. Just buying something to get it because it's better or you saw somebody else use it is never really a good thing to do. So, everybody's got a different budget. Everybody has a different amount of money that they can spend on painting materials. Just make sure that your materials and the cost of them are not holding you back. All right, tip number 9 is get in a good painting community. I really wish I would have done this early on, but now actually go to a figure painting class once a week. It's not like a class, just an open studio where there's a live model and you can draw or paint. And it's just great being around other people that draw and paint. You bounce ideas off of each other, you talk. It's just really helpful. This is why I created a private Facebook group for my patrons on Patreon. There's over 1,000 people in there now. Everybody's sharing their paintings, giving advice, getting advice, talking about what materials they're using, talking about the problems they're having, and people, everybody helps each other. I know painters, it's easy just to like stay in your studio and working, but really try and get out there and interact with other people that are doing what you're doing. All right, tip number 10 is, as much as you can, try and get out and see paintings in real life, especially painters that you admire. It's one thing to see it, online, but to see it in person, I feel like every time I go to a gallery and see a painter that I like's work in person, it just gets my creative juices flowing so much and just really makes me want to go paint and get better. I'll look at the painting, I'll look at it from far away, I'll look it up close, I'll see their brushwork and try and think how did they do this? How did they build this painting? So if you're ever feeling stale with your painting or stagnant, get out of the studio, go to a gallery and see some paintings in life. All right, those are my 10 tips. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero, here telling you to go get painting.